Hello, everyone. So, my project is called Going to Market, Overcoming the Challenges of Last Mile Distribution to Build a Solar Ecosystem. So, as all of the MDP students at least know, I, over the last 2 years, have worked on developing a company around a product, which is a solar-capable or solar-compatible electric clothing iron. So this idea came out of classes at Berkeley, and it developed in classes at Berkeley. But there was one problem that Berkeley was not able to help me solve. So I have this product, it's ready to go, it's ready to pilot, but how the hell do I get it to the places that need it? So there are a few things to consider here, and there are a few things to unpack. So my capstone, the challenge that my capstone is facing is this notion of last mile distribution, and specifically, or more broadly I should say, how do you actually deliver a product to market? So in answering that question, I want to frame our notion of poverty. So we understand poverty to be a lack of access. But, and when I say that, I should say poverty is a lack of access to resources. It's a lack of access to income generating capabilities. It's a lack of access to any number of things. But I want to flip that on its head, because not only do those who live in poverty struggle to have access to all of these things, but those who have solutions to these problems also struggle to access those suffering from poverty. So to give you an example, 84% of those who live in poverty are living in rural parts of the developing world. They often suffer from poor infrastructure in terms of roads. They have limited demand in local regions. And as a result of that, it's very difficult to deliver business solutions or business-driven solutions. So the question here is, how do we take development technologies to market? And with that question, I want you to keep in mind that when we look at India specifically, over 70 companies that were surveyed that work specifically in rural communities, 59% of them said that the question of distribution and sales was the #1 key to success in serving rural markets. So, this is the question that I'm trying to solve. So, I am my own client, I am my own consultant, and I set for myself 3 objectives. I wanted to identify key challenges in the distribution process, the process of going to market, and that spans manufacturing to end of user. With those challenges, I wanted to identify key strategies that already existed, and then I wanted to integrate those into a decision framework. Basically, I know all this information, what do I do with it? And then I ask myself to apply it to my own company. So I wanted to figure out how I could use this information to deliver the alternative iron to market in rural India. To do that, I used a 2-step methodology. I first focused on a literature review, and that literature review pulled from operational management and largely from public health. And then I used a primary research methodology, in which I conducted interviews with 10 companies doing work in solar and last mile distribution from the Caribbean to Sub-Saharan Africa to South Asia. It's also, I guess, important to note that I work in this field, and as I've continued to develop the iron, I've worked with a lot of mentors, and I've worked with a lot of people that have provided insight. So I've integrated all of that into a framework. This is the foundation for that framework. So I have essentially taken all that information and broken it down into 3 steps. The steps are going to market, so market access and scale, how do you actually get to the people you want to serve, and then how do you grow that system. The second step is customer acquisition, so once you have gotten to them, how do you turn them into a customer, how do you serve them, and then sales, how do you sell your product. Finally, customer satisfaction and retention. So how do you make sure that you're happy with your service? How do you make sure that you retain them as your client, as the person that you serve? Within those categories, there are 3 challenges that are faced, and as a result, I've focused them, and with those challenges, I've come up with a step-by-step or many options or strategies. Those strategies are not listed here, but this is just the overview. So within the first category, we have distribution costs, normally very high. How do we reduce them? We have revenue. With distributed demand, you have to find ways to increase your revenue. You also have operational efficiency. How do you perform in the most effective way possible? We then go into customer acquisition, so we have to be familiar with the market to ensure that we're serving it effectively. We have to increase awareness of the brand so they're willing to purchase your product, and they have to be willing to pay, so how do we essentially extend credit to them? Finally, we have customer satisfaction, so how do we generate revenue, or how do we collect revenue? How do we ensure that the product works effectively with after-sales service? And how do we collect data on those sales to improve operational decisions? So I've taken all of that, right? And I've created a framework, and I've applied that to my own company. This is my product. I've come up with a ton of steps here, but I want to boil those down to 3 things. The first thing that you need to do is to decrease your investment in capital. Leverage what's already in place. You need to form strategic partnerships, so you need to form partnerships with the people that already have invented the wheel, so you don't have to reinvent it. And finally, you have to add value to these communities. So how do you engage those living in poverty? How do you engage those living in these rural communities in this process, so you're not just delivering the product, but also delivering social impact?
So I assume in order to do this shift and engage with the community and like leverage this capital, you need your company to have too much human capital to be able to do that, or to do it on like a specific speed. So do you feel like this is the right trade-off? It's like you will decrease the capital, but at the same time you will have like a human capital that you need to invest on to be able to achieve this?
So there are a few different ways of approaching it. If you leverage existing infrastructure, you significantly decrease in your human capital investment. But another way of doing it is creating branches that have the largest kind of touch point, or the largest number of touch points possible. So they facilitate that engagement with the community, that you're able to leverage their on-ground knowledge. And as a result of that, by kind of centralizing it, you also decrease the actual investment in human capital.
What is unique about it is development. If I would do it how to set something in Berkeley, I would do the same way.
Absolutely. The difference here is the challenges that you face. So there are greater distribution costs associated with distributing in rural Zambia versus Berkeley. And as a result, they're more prohibitive from a business standpoint. So it's not just about actually getting to the community, it's not about getting to your target market, it's also about developing strategies that are that facilitate sustainable business in these environments.
You can give one example about something that you did because you were there in Zambia or India rather than what you do here.
Yeah. So an example would be a market development organization. So there are a number of companies that work in solar products, but there are also companies that are arising that are focused on actually then how to get those, or how to open markets up for these products. So SKS is an example of this. So SKS is it's the first nonprofit to go public, and they have leveraged their MFI network to not only provide capital, to provide the ability to finance the purchase of these products, but also they leverage their on-ground knowledge. So partnering with an organization like SKS, who kind of does that market development capacity, is something that's very unique, specifically to the development space.
You sort of just answered my question. But it's so great to see how this idea has progressed and grown over the last 2 years. And my question was, you said that one of the key takeaways from strategic partnerships, and we learn a lot in this program about local challenges and needing local solutions. So in leveraging those strategic partnerships, would it be organizations that have kind of existing distribution channels, or like say kind of monthly payment schemes that are already effective, and then you would kind of work off the back of that? Or?
It's a number of different things, and it depends on where you're working. So SKS is an example of that. So you're able to leverage their network providing access to capital. There is another organization called Frontier Markets that focuses on demand mapping. So they are providing kind of a landscape for actually how to integrate this into the community, and then they help with the after-sales service. So their kind of value add is that they kind of keep all of that value in the community itself. They're paying entrepreneurs on the ground to do all of this. So it just really depends on where you're working and who you're working with. And you have to look to your organization and to figure out where your potential synergies are, where your potential overlap is. And when you put all of that together, it allows you to go to market.
Congratulations.